Hello and welcome to Illumination Podcast with Nick and Kisma. I'm Kisma, and today's episode is Change Your Life with Self-Love. Hello and welcome to Illumination Podcast with Nick and Kisma, bringing you ancient wisdom for modern day success so that you can have the mindset to get your life and business set.
As always, thank you for tuning in. And if you're new to the podcast, take a quick second to hit the subscribe button in iTunes, SoundCloud, or Stitcher. If you want to get the inside info for this and every episode, as well as some free gifts, go to illuminationacademy.net/podcasts. And now let's dive in to get your mindset for your life and business set.
Hello there, Nick.
Hey there, Kisma.
What's going on over right next to me?
Well, I'm enjoying our
on that side of the recording studio.
Our little cup of jamu.
Jamu. Tell everybody what jamu is and how you made it, because Nick is an expert at making jamu.
I don't know that I'm an expert because I've only ever had my own. I've never seen this anywhere. I don't even know the history behind it or like where it comes from or anything like that. It popped up in my feed one day. And, I always click on weird stuff, but it's like anti-inflammatory drink. You can make it home, something like that. I clicked on it. It's like jamu. And it's basically, it's like you juice turmeric and ginger. So it's like very anti-inflammatory. Yeah. And then you mix it with some water. And then I added a little bit of maple syrup in it for sweetening. But that's it. Like that's all
and
it
then
is.
we cut it with some club soda.
Yeah.
It gives a little sparkle.
That's right. You put that little club soda on and it's like a fun drink. So we're kicking back with with some jamu today.
Yeah. And today was the day that Facebook and Instagram and WhatsApp went bye-bye. And I thought it was like, I was like, oh my gosh. It's sort of the next round of like, whatever, they're gone. I knew they would come back, but it was interesting. I was getting texts like, hey, have you seen this? I saw these posts in this group, and somebody posted in a group that the entire Facebook and Instagram was wiped out and the domain was for sale on the black web, like all of this stuff. And I was like, yeah, I don't think I'm going to buy that yet. I'm giving it a couple of hours. And sure, I mean, it's freaking Facebook. Yet I do think, this is happening the day after 60 Minutes is calling them out for not being aware, not being present to the harm Instagram is causing teenagers, young girls. I
want to talk about that actually.
Yeah, to some of the stuff that's going, because it's tied into self-love, right? Some of the stuff going on Facebook. And, I saw Dave Asprey posted, he thinks it's them shifting their algorithms, and it just kind of imploded. Like, who knows? But I think it gave us a day to go, how much Facebook do I really need? Or what is my intention with it? Like, let's everyone, as always, get back to intention.
Yeah. I had a secret little thought about it too. I shared it with you that was like, man, be kind of nice if it just went away for a month.
Yeah,
or so.
I was just about to start ads for my webinar.
I know.
So not yet,
I know. There's certainly things like that. I know it would be harmful to businesses, and I certainly don't wish that. But there was that little part of me that's like, boy, it was one of the blessings of the quarantine was the quietude that came with it, and just, emptying out of the streets and an opportunity for everybody to just like slow down for a minute. And I kind of had the same feeling about Facebook, like, oh boy, wouldn't it be nice if we just had a month off? I wonder how different it would be when we came back.
Well, I think we get to take it on our own. I mean, it's even more powerful if we decide, I'm not going to get sucked down that whole algorithm every single day.
You're so right. I just wanted it done for me.
I know. I just wanted it done for you. But it is interesting. It's like, go on, post your thing. If you have groups, I've got the Prosperity Code Coaching Method group, the Universal Laws of Abundance group. You've got a self-love group. Like, all right, post in there, high vibe, check on your friends, out.
Yeah.
It's just like anything. It's just like a knife. A surgeon can take a knife and cut somebody open and save their life. And somebody else can take a knife and stab and take a life. Facebook can derail you. Social media can derail you, or you can use it for the highest and best. But it's all going to be intention, and then having the discipline to follow through.
Yeah. And it's pretty, ironic that happened today when we're going to talk about this. But when it comes to self-love, self-image, and those kinds of things, like social media has had a huge impact. And
huge.
I was reading a study just recently about, it was about Instagram, but I know that it applies to the other platforms as well, where they were looking at how it affected specifically teenage girls when they were on Facebook or excuse me, on Instagram, and then after, and there was a huge percentage of them that just felt worse about themselves after they got off the platform,
right?
Or after they had been on it and then were off it for the day, and they inevitably feel worse about themselves. And it's a thing that gets talked about. It's not like people haven't said, you're looking at people's highlight reels and you're comparing that to your everyday life, like how you feel inside of yourself and what you think about yourself and you're comparing all of that stuff inside of you to everybody else's highlight reels, and then you see somebody go off the rails, you can see it coming, like their posts start getting a little erratic, they get a little long, like they start to not use punctuation properly and man, that person, okay, something's going down, and you see them kind of, and there's this, a lot of people really love to watch that stuff because it makes them feel better about themselves, which is not healthy. Like, this is not a
no, sadly is a hashtag human thing. I mean, that's why the gossip magazines and all of that are so popular, because people are like, oh, Brad and Angelina, they blew it up, so I'm not so bad.
Yeah. It's tough.
It is tough.
So, I think your analogy with the knife is so important. It doesn't change. It doesn't change and doesn't fix the problem, which is really about how we relate to ourselves. And that's why I just thought it was so important to talk about this. And that's why I created the course, A Course in Self-Love.
It's such a great name.
It was certainly something that I was really interested in for myself. But at the same time, it was a conversation that kept coming up again and again and again in coaching and healing sessions, and that I would see around, people really struggling with this conversation, and not, I guess the best way to put it was what I saw was just pieces of it. So people would talk about self-care and that became the whole conversation that they were having about self-love.
Right.
And it's like, that's good and it's important. We'll talk more about that next week with the 5 foundations of self-love, but it's only one aspect of it,
right?
One foundation. There's so much more to this conversation that really is important for understanding. And, what I came to realize when I really thought about it is that self-love, or rather our relationship with ourselves, it literally impacts every single area of our lives.
It's a bold statement, and I think you're right.
But think about it. Everything that you experience in the world is filtered through you and filtered through your thought and belief system.
Right.
And very much of that is about who and what you are and how you relate to the world.
Yeah.
How you fit into the world. And so when whatever is coming in through that is going to be impacted by your relationship with yourself.
Yes.
So that's literally every area of your life.
I know that in a couple of episodes, we're going to be talking about self-love and abundance, but it does come back to, we are what we believe ourselves to be.
Yeah.
And how magnificent would our belief be if we had complete self-love?
I think, and that's a fun thing that we do in the course is we look at absolutes. So if you were to love yourself absolutely and completely, what would that look like? And what it tends to do, like if you ask yourself that question right now, what it tends to do is brings up the ends around it. I couldn't, like, that's not right. That's impossible, or no, but what about this? Like there's this little list of exceptions, that starts to come up in the mind. And the goal of the course isn't necessarily, that's the ultimate goal for sure, but it's not necessarily to have that absolute experience, but it's more about being on the path of developing a really healthy relationship with ourselves.
Right. I love it.
Yeah.
So changing your life through self-love. Tell us about this.
I mean, think about changing. Well, let's look at, I'll use myself as a personal example. If we look back on my career as a musician, I struggled for so long with performance anxiety and getting up on stage. Am I going to play it right? And just like
so tough.
So much pressure on myself. And I really believe, in retrospect, all these years later, that was something that, as much as I worked on it, like I never really conquered that piece of it while I was a musician. And I really think that affected my career negatively. There was a lot of things that I didn't try that I wanted to, that I didn't explore, things that I didn't write or record because of my talk about myself and what I thought about myself as a musician.
I think any performer can relate to that.
Yeah. And I think a lot of people can, if you've got a book inside of you, or you want to do something or have some kind of creative expression or something like that, something that you want to follow in your life, a dream that you want to follow, well, that's going to absolutely be impacted by how you feel about yourself.
Yes.
If you think, oh, I'm just going to fail at it,
you won't do it. Yeah.
And we build this case against ourselves.
Oh man, that's rough. Building a case against ourselves. Darn it.
But we do it though.
Yeah.
There was this failure and then there's another but, like, oh, well, you want to do that really cool thing? Yeah, but last time it didn't
work. Or what if I'm disappointed?
Yeah.
What if it doesn't work? I hear that a lot. That fear of being disappointed.
Yeah. So the course, ultimately, really what the course is about is a fuller, just having a fuller and freer expression of who you really are, like getting in touch with that for sure.
Right.
And then having a fuller and freer expression about that without all the limitations and the negative self-talk, and without, really knowing how to manage yourself through that. So it's kind of, in a certain way, it's like a mastery level, emotional intelligence course on emotional intelligence as well, because you have to really learn how to deal with yourself through it.
Because we will have emotions, we will have moments where we're like, I messed up or this or that, and so it's knowing how to navigate that, what to do with those emotions so they don't get stuck and we turn on ourselves.
That's right.
Yeah.
It's really important, because it's not to say that you're not going to have those thoughts. Whether it's about yourself or
someone else.
Yeah, whether it's about somebody else. Your relationship with everybody else is a clear reflection of your relationship with yourself. And that's a little bit of a tough pill to swallow sometimes.
The mirror, man.
But it's true.
And it gives us a sense, it can be a tough pill, but I think it gives us a sense of power as well, like in a good way of, all right, if there's something going on in my world that I don't want to be going on, or there's something that I really want and I don't have, I got to start with me. I have to start with the relationship with myself. Stop blaming other people. Stop pointing the finger. Stop being like the world, and just examine in the most compassionate, kind, and firm way with ourselves what's going on here.
Yeah.
Because we're with ourselves 24/7. It's so fascinating, right? Like whatever you're telling yourself, guys, it's like having that voice in your head that's either going, you're awesome, let's go take this day on, I fully love you, embody yourself, you're one with God, the whole thing, or, you're a piece of crap. Or back and forth like ping pong.
It's profound. When just like you're starting to geek out on it. Like that's how I've been geeking out on it. But you start to think about it and you're like, holy crap. Like this absolutely permeates your relationship with yourself is present in every relationship with every person and everything in your life and every circumstance in your life.
Oh man. And I think it's
kind of a big deal.
I think it's a really big deal. And when we look at different humans that, let's say, that are in the public eye, if we observe different people have had different elements of success, you can tell by how, if you take a famous, like a Johnny Depp, when they start messing up and mucking up their life behind the scenes, kind of wonder, like, what are they thinking about themselves? Everyone else is looking like, whoa, Johnny Depp. And I don't know Johnny, so I'm just
who's a good example is Tiger Woods.
Tiger Woods, man. There was so many people rooting for this guy.
Yeah.
So many. And then behind the scenes, things break. So what was that self-talk?
And it's about, so what you see in an example like that, and I don't know Tiger, obviously, or Mr. Woods. I should probably refer to him more formally, just out of respect. But I don't know him personally. I don't know what was going on inside of him, but I can tell you for sure that patterns of addiction and destructive habits like that are typically because there's a void inside of that person. And they're trying to fill that void and make themselves feel better by doing those sorts of things.
Yeah.
And it gets really twisted up and it leads into those kinds of patterns that ultimately fall apart.
And self-sabotage in a big way.
That's right. Because what is self-sabotage really about, except you have in your subconscious mind, you have an opinion about what you're worthy of and what you're capable of and what you deserve in life. And when you start to exceed that, or your conscious mind can start to see a path forward from that, your subconscious mind gets really scared and is like, no, we're comfortable here.
Yeah, exactly.
So it is about starting to clean up that level of the conversation as well, to really be able to embody more fullness of expression in your life, more freedom and more happiness and joy.
So I imagine the conversation, I know this program, this particular episode is high level, and we've got one coming out next week that you're going to want to make sure you tune into. That will be more specific and how to gain that self-love. But I imagine at the high level, how we relate to the self in that conversation, it's possible to change the conscious mind, the talk. And the more that we reconfigure that, it sort of drips down to the subconscious. And then, of course, both of us do deeper clearing sessions and coaching, things like that, to get to the root and what's causing, the true cause. But we have to start somewhere.
Yeah. The reason that I created this course like this was to really help get the conscious mind fully on board with self-love, understanding what it is, understanding the foundations of it, and being able to really get that part clear. And then
that it's even possible.
Yeah. Right. So if we go for like a 10% shift in your self-love, like that is titanic, because that's literally 10% of your life that's going to be improved by that much. It's actually kind of a big deal.
Yeah.
So it's about doing that. And then there are energy tools within it and all sorts of other things that help to start to clean up the subconscious mind around it. But you're absolutely right. Like, it's getting the conscious mind really on board and then starting to clean up some of those old stories and things. And it happens through the teachings, but it happens through the conversation as well. It happens through action. Like, there's all of these different components, because it really is, when you talk about self-love, what you're really talking about is the wholeness of you.
Right. And recognizing that's really beautiful. Just before I ask you a question, if someone wants to do a course in self-love, how do they find it?
You go to nickhansinger.com/love yourself.
Love yourself, one word?
Yep.
Love yourself, baby.
Yep.
So again, next week we have something more specific in the self-love. So if you're listening, you're new, make sure you subscribe and all of that to Illumination Podcast with Nick and Kismet, so you get alerted when that episode and more comes out. But for now, Nick, before we sign off, give everyone a place to start. For the self-love, I think we see how it changes your life, because you're looking through a different lens. You're operating from a different heart, even tapping into your soul more. But where can a person start every single day?
Every single day. Well, first I'd say go back and listen to this podcast again. Because there's something that's happening in here that will just help you start to understand, even in a deeper way, how important this is in your life. Right. And it really is about getting yourself to buy into it, because when it comes to self-love, on different levels of our being, we have all sorts of really interesting resistances to that.
So it's getting into that just might be possible that I can have more self-love.
And listen to this, go click on that that link, nickhansinger.com/love yourself, and read the page because it's about like why this is important and how it gets laid out. And it helps. It's another layer of helping your brain to get on board with it and to get out of that resistance. And like, I love that. It just might be possible because it just might be possible.
Yeah.
And so, hey, you know, to take some of the pressure off again is like, don't make it about absolute love for yourself and, you know, completely 100%, you know, unconditional and all that, because your brain doesn't understand that anyway.
Yeah.
But make it about, okay, we can take some more steps toward that. If I were to, you know, have 20% more love and appreciation for myself, 20% better of a relationship with myself, like how would that impact my life? And I know it might seem a little, I don't know, maybe a little oversimplistic, but that level of buy-in is really important with self-love, particularly with self-love, because your mind tries to opt out of it a lot.
Right.
So it's like any other relationship where if you're going to have a real serious relationship with somebody, a committed relationship with somebody, your mind really has to be all in for that.
Yeah.
Because your mind, they're going to do something that you don't like.
Right.
They're going to make you angry.
Yeah, it happens, right?
All these, and your mind's going to start to opt out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So when maybe that's another great thing every day is opt into loving yourself.
Yeah. There has to be something.
So it's the opposite of turning in on yourself.
It is.
Yeah. Oh, it's so good. Self-love, everyone. It's the new bold movement of being amazing and successful and all sorts of good things.
It's really profound.
Yeah.
You know.
So let us know how this resonates. Email us at
hello@illuminationpodcast.com
or click on
nickhansinger.com/love yourself.
Yeah. And again, share this episode with someone who could use a little sparkle of self-love, and make sure that you give us a little rating, review, all that podcast stuff in the podcast universe. We totally appreciate you. And next week, we're going to be talking about
the 5 foundations of self-love.
Yeah. So if you're listening and it's up, go on to that one. If it's not up yet, just tune in next week because it'll be juicy.
Yeah. I can't wait to unpack that on a little bit different level. It's really, really fun to talk about. We'll see you next week, everybody.
Okay, everyone. Much love. Namaste. Hey, thanks for jamming with us today. And if you enjoy Illumination Podcast, please go ahead and share it with someone you love. Give us a rating, review, download our podcast. And remember, you can find us at illuminationacademy.net/podcasts. Talk to you soon. Namaste.